Hey everyone, welcome back to the Multithreaded Income Podcast. I'm joined today by my special guest, Brian Gorman. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. So, Brian, you and I met how many years ago? I've
2019
lost track.
KCDC.
Which one was that?
It was KCDC 2019.
Okay. Because I believe at the time you were working for Opsagility, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think
And
so.
I was a Opsagility author, or not
Yeah,
author. I was doing training for them. So it was good coincidence our paths had met.
yeah. It was like within a year of that. Like I think all that kind of happened all at once because we met at KCDC, and then I started working at Opsagility somewhere in there, maybe before, maybe after, by a little bit. I'm not sure. And then you were building a course for Opsagility, and I happened to be slated as the technical editor for that. I
Okay.
remember that.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that until you just mentioned it, honestly. I just remember meeting you at KCDC thinking you were a cool dude and hanging out with you we were having like some bird ends or something. But
I remember that because you said nice things about the course, and I'm like, I really like this technical editor. I should get more courses edited by him. I forgot about that. Thanks for like reigniting my memory.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'd forgotten about it too. So that's funny.
So Brian, you're not at Opsgilly anymore. Kind of tell folks out there who don't know who you are. What do you currently do?
Yeah. So I left Opsagility a little bit ago and went out on my own. I still subcontract through Opsagility. That's my main, one of my main things that I do right now. And ultimately, that's gotten me into the Microsoft Software Systems Academy, or MSSA program, where I'm currently training on. I also do consulting. So, like, my business is consulting and training. And so, most of the summer, I actually spent consulting, which was actually a really nice change of pace. But I love it because I'm a really big advocate for practical knowledge over theoretical knowledge. And a lot of training
Yeah.
is high level academic, and you got to keep your hands in the fire, so to speak, to like make sure that you're up to date on current things and you're not just spewing out what a textbook says or what a document says, but you actually have some practical like experience being baptized by fire, for lack of a better way of saying it. It's like, we've got to get this thing to work. And the documentation says it works this way, but that's not working for us for whatever reason. Like, what's the getchas, gotchas, things like that. So, so that's what I do. We mentioned a little bit off camera, but ultimately, uh, I've written two books. One of them actually has a second edition. That's the Practical Entity Framework book. And then I just finished last year the AZ204 Cert Companion. Both of those books are available through A-Press or Amazon or whatever, if you're interested in that kind of thing, or they're online in like O'Reilly's stuff. And, if you have that too. So there's lots of ways to see those. But yeah, we talked early on about all that. So
Do
I
you
think
find
that's,
having a book for a technical certification? Do you think that that sort of thing does better than your just sort of random subject technical book?
unfortunately, no. I was actually really surprised by this. Like, and maybe it's just the way that the book was written, or just the lack of, like, the technical editor that hired me to do the book went to a different company. And so I got passed off to another technical editor. And so I don't know if there was just a disconnect there or whatever, but like the book was finished and it just doesn't seem to have gotten any traction. Well, I was really surprised because I thought everybody would want a book on AZ204. Now, the other
Yeah.
thing though is, along the same token of me releasing this book, is right about the same time Microsoft said, hey, by the way, here's all the AZ204 material we must learn. So maybe part of now that certification, the book isn't as valuable because you can get a lot of information for free online.
Yeah.
I still like to think that I bring a practical like twist to it to give you a little more in depth than just the material, but sometimes it's pretty similar. So I was surprised.
I always like to say with certifications, specifically Microsoft certifications, because there was a time in my life I was MCSA, MCSE.
Hmm.
I did the gambit of the Windows Server
Yeah.
certifications, and we used to say there's the right way, the wrong way, the Microsoft way,
Oh
and
man. Oh
there's
man.
there's the way that Microsoft wants you to do it and how they'll ask the question on the certification, but
Hmm.
then there's the way that you would actually do it.
So I've actually talked about this before. that was so totally true. Like what you're saying was the epitome of the experience you would have in the early days. Like even the .NET 1, .NET 2 days of certs, it was like,
Hmm.
this is what Microsoft really wants you to say the answer is for this. But he would go do it in the real world and sure, that works, but it's not what you want to do in the real world. You find a better way or a different way. Or just the simple fact that there's 6 ways to do something. You never even thought of doing it that way. Right. So
Yeah.
I will say though, that since they switched to the role-based certs where they're now Azure focused and like they even have these skilling initiatives now that you can do for free online, that stuff has become much more in line with what you actually do in the real world than it was in the past. So if you haven't taken a cert for a while, you might be surprised by some of the practicality of it, especially like now they're working in like real live exam. Like in the exam, you actually have to do like things in Azure, like to make it happen. And so, yeah, it's a lot different. And you get access to MS Learn now, which is a whole new thing. Like
Yeah.
you can actually look things up. So the whole idea, and actually it's funny because I've been on a couple of their podcasts this morning and talking to them, we had a very similar thing about, just like the fact that you have to memorize stuff for an exam. You feel like you have to memorize stuff. You don't have to
Yeah.
do that anymore because you can look up what the SKUs are in MS Learn now. And you don't have to know this SKU does that thing as much as you used to, right? So you don't feel like it's just an exam, memorization type of operation like you used to. So yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good to hear they're catching up with modern times because
Yes.
I very much remember taking certifications and going, all right, I've memorized like
Sure.
window group administrator policies and
Yep.
trying to remember all of them at game time. And it's not like you're using a real interface. You're using it was their simulated interfaces.
Mhm.
So you didn't have access to everything that you probably should have had access to. That's really good to hear. It's kind of like when I was in high school and maybe when you were in high school too, if you took a math class, you couldn't use a calculator because they
Right.
said you would never have a calculator with you at all times. Like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
All
So,
the time.
and so can we just transition that now? Because I've just been talking about this with a lot of people too. Like that same conversation is almost exactly the conversation we're having now in Introduction to Programming with AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now you should learn how to program, but ChatGPT will do it for me, just like the calculator. You still need to know how to put the numbers in the calculator, push the right buttons.
Yep.
But how much is AI assisted coding like Copilot almost the same type of scenario? And now I'm the old fogey saying you can't use it because you have to learn how to program first.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny.
Oh, to a degree, you have to know if ChatGPT is wrong, right?
You do.
It's
You do.
doing enough. Brian, I want to move on. You have the books. I know you're doing consulting on the side to kind of keep your skills up. You and I were kind of having a conversation of it's good to have the consulting side in addition to the training side, just so you're well versed. I don't think anyone likes a trainer who doesn't have any real world experience.
Right.
Um, I'm very much the same way. I used to do, I'm going to call it bespoke training because I would do very customized training for different clients. And my rule was it had to be something I've done in production.
Yep.
And what ended up coming out of those was not so much here's how you do X, Y, and Z, but here's all the things I've run into and like practical examples. And always feel like in the end that people get a more authentic training experience from that because you can instantly prove you know exactly what you're talking about because you've been there and you've
Right.
done that.
Yeah.
Um,
But
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did some similar stuff and I've only had one person that complained that I showed errors. So most people really like it when you are training and you show them something that they think that you kind of feel like the natural thought is you will do this. So you just have the training, you like have them do that because that's what they're thinking they should do. And they see
Yeah.
the error and then they have to fix it. But that's the kind of thing I love because you're going to run into that error and now you've seen it and you know how to fix it, right? Rather
Yep.
than just like, here's the A to Z step-by-step thing you have to do. And oops, if you go off this, you're going to get an error that you've never seen before. Right. So anyway, I'm totally on board with that.
So let's recap. All right. You're consulting,
Okay.
you're the training, you have the books. You also have some Udemy courses. And I don't think I've actually been able to sit down and talk to someone about the experience of Udemy.
Okay.
So why don't we talk about, you have 2 Udemy courses. What are they?
Well, yeah. So I have 2 Udemy courses that are around Git and MVC. So I actually have, so the Git course, I actually have a number of courses at Udemy, but my main ones are a Git advanced commands, a Git branching and merging, and a introduction, or basically what I call the MVC quick start. I was working as a professor for Franklin University out of Columbus, Ohio, in the computer science department as an adjunct on the side while I was developer. And I had all these introduction to program courses, and the students needed more access to me, and I just couldn't do it. So I built videos. I put them on Udemy way back in 2013 when Udemy was like brand new. So I actually have an intro to programming course that was built in 2013 and is still on Udemy, but it's not in the Udemy for Business program. So
No.
you're familiar with this,
Yeah.
that the real lucrative part of Udemy is the Udemy for Business part. You can put, there's 60 bazillion people putting courses on Udemy, but if you can get your course into the Udemy for Business, that's when it actually starts to like have a revenue that is at least not pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah.
It's not $50,000 a year by any means. And I wish it was, but it is enough to be like, hey, this is a substantial change in, difference over just a regular Udemy course. So my Git one is out there and my MVC one is out there. And honestly, I'm just sitting down and replanning because I'm going to re-record all the Git videos, just because like they still say master, to be
Yeah.
honest. And like at this point, it needs ADCMA. So it's just, and it's fun for me to re-up the videos anyway, do it again. So that's going on there.
Now,
But
are you planning on doing that as a replacement of the videos you already have? So if I'm already a student, I just get all the brand new videos, or are you going to
yes.
re-release it?
Yeah. So my plan is just to keep those courses fresh so they will stay, because to stay in the Udemy for Business program, you have to have a certain higher rating.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get too many bad ratings, they'll kick your course out. So if my course starts to become too stale, which the nice thing about Git is that Git hasn't changed except for adding the switch command. And I don't even
Yeah.
know when they did that, but that was like years ago at this point. And other than the master domain thing, that was the other major thing. Everything else about Git is exactly the same. So a video recorded 5 years ago isn't necessarily stale. It just looks stale to the students, right?
Yeah.
So just the fact that it looks stale at this point, and the fact that a couple changes have happened, and just a couple of things I've learned along the way that I want to re-up. But yes, the whole idea is replace what's there with better content, newer content, and provide it, continuous value to those students. I do that. I re-upped the MVC course when they went to .NET 6. Now they're on .NET 8. At some point I need to probably, the difference in there is like .NET 6 and .NET 8, there hasn't been enough change for the stuff I'm teaching to make
Yeah.
it worthwhile. So I'll probably maybe even wait till .NET 10. But at some point, again, I will be re-upping that one because that course is actually morphed. To be honest, I made it as kind of a joke. It was like, I just want to show people how, and I gave it away for free. I just want to show people how to how fast, because I was mad. I was frustrated with like some of the things I was doing for Java on the servlet side and stuff. This is a while ago, right? But he's just like, I can in 5 minutes, and I didn't know Spring Boot at the time either. So I can in 5 minutes be up and running, have a database connection, and have like CRUD operation that'd be done. Watch this, boom, boom, boom. Then I recorded it. Here's an hour-long course I did for free. And then people were like loving this course. I'm like, what? This is like basic stuff, like
Yeah.
a tutorial. So then it morphed into how you can actually structure. Now it's not just that. I show like in tier, I have unit testing, integration testing. So you have the ground up experience of building the entire app and getting it out into an Azure app service with, I would like to add, I don't have it in that course yet, but I would like to add stuff for Key Vault, protecting your secrets. One of the talks I do at conferences, kind of add that final touch to it. So yeah, they continue to morph. And I think if you want to stay relevant in that area, if that's what you like to do, like, I don't think you can just push a video and just be like, that's good enough for a life. There is
Yeah.
a presence that you have to have for those students. So
I'm finding with my Signal R Mastery Udemy course, it's based currently off .NET 6. And thankfully, what you just kind of mentioned, it hasn't
Mhm.
changed enough where I need to go back and change any videos. If
Right.
anything, I could add a couple supplementary videos that talk about new features that would be useful for the students. But you're absolutely right. Getting into Udemy for Business was pretty game changing because that took it from a peaks and valleys in terms of revenue to a fairly steady revenue stream.
Right.
Where I'm almost scared to just say it's reliable monthly income, um, of, and we're not talking like change your life money, but
Right.
it's car payment money.
That's what I
That's
call it, car
probably the
payment
best
money.
way to say it.
Yep. That's
Um,
exactly how I say it.
yeah, and I always say in the back of my mind, like, okay, if I had 10 of these,
Yeah.
like, then it becomes life-changing money, like, you could quit your job and, well, maybe, I don't know, it depends.
Right.
But you could, not work as hard doing the other things and just do the content. And
Mhm.
I've always liked that idea.
One thing I'll say about that really quick before you move on is just the reason that looks good and sounds good on paper, but I'll caution you, and I think this is relevant for your
Yeah,
audience too, is like never build your business on someone else's platform.
yeah,
Because the second Udemy changes their rules, your income could go straight through the roof or straight to the seller. Or
yep.
they could just say, we're shutting it down. Or they kick you out of the program, and then what are you going to do? Right. So anyway, now we can move on.
Well, funny enough, one of the things we were talking about earlier was a lot of work I had done and then got shut down. So if I was being compensated on a per view basis, that would have just dried up,
Right.
overnight because the company decided not to go in that direction.
Correct.
Um, so you're absolutely right. And also, it might be worth just talking to the listeners about the Udemy model because you mentioned Udemy for Business, but how how do we make money as an author on Udemy? So assume I create a new course that's 3-4 hours long or more, and I put it up on Udemy. Brian, how should I expect to make money from that course?
Yeah. So that's the $1 million question, because it seems like there are some people that no matter what they do, it turns into gold. Right.
Yeah,
And the other people, like you could have the best course out there and it's like crickets. Um, so there are some strategies, and a lot of people have actually built a living around making like, this is how you put courses on Udemy and become really rich doing it. Right.
yeah,
Um, but let's talk about the basic person like you and me, or any other developer, or anybody who has something to share with the world. Right. And they think I should try to monetize this content because it's useful enough. It's providing value. And honestly, people are asking me so much that it would be really nice to just point them to some videos. I would say go for it. Even if it doesn't make a dime, you will learn from the process skills around video editing, getting your audio set up, realizing that once you start recording a course, if you move your microphone, you probably just wrecked everything. So you got to like kind of have this, yeah, you got to have this like steady, like don't touch anything until the course is produced, because otherwise you'll learn, all that stuff, but it will also force you to go deeper in your craft because you'll realize about halfway through, oh, I should probably add something to this because I might be taking for granted that they did know something that maybe they don't. Right. So I'd say go for it. So you say, okay, I'm going to try it. You go to Udemy, you sign up for an account, you say, I would like to be an instructor. Guess what? You're an instructor on Udemy. There's no vetting, right?
hmm
But you got to now go through their system and create a bunch of courses or create your course. And they have a number of rules, especially if you're a new instructor. It's a lot harder now than it was in 2013, obviously. Um, you have to get I think you submit a video and they vet it and say your audio is bad or
yeah,
whatever. And then once you get that part figured out, now you can actually release your course. So you need to structure it well with sections, and then you got to type all the things. And now all the students want talking heads and they want quizzes and exams and all the things, all the bells and whistles that you didn't necessarily have to have back in the day. Um, so just plan that well, make it useful. And I would say, like you said, nothing longer than 3 or 4 hours. Like my introduction to programming is a 9-hour course. And to fix that now or re-record that it's such a massive undertaking that like I haven't had the energy to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Git course, the advanced commands, I can do that in, it's a 3 hour, 4 hour course. I can do that. And within a month, I could probably have that reproduced, right? It's not going to take me all a year. And that's just on the side. I mean, that's not a full-time thing, right? So then you release it, you push the button, boom, it's out there. The strategies are make sure it shows up well in their SEO, get people to review it fast and furiously. Because if you can get what they call hot or something like new and hot, then all of a sudden it gets the attention, and then it's like their algorithm pushes it to the top, and then everybody buys, and that's your snowball. So it is a game to do that. But again, I would say even through all of that, if somehow you can get your course to be like reputable enough and noticeable enough that you get it into Udemy for Business, that's when the game will change for you.
So what does Udemy for Business give me outside of just regular Udemy?
Okay. So regular Udemy is just like, anybody in the world can buy the course for, and I forgot to mention, you can do it one of two ways. Yeah. One of two ways. You can either say, I will not ever let you promote my course, and thereby my course will cost, let's say, $59.99, right? And only people can buy it. They buy it for $59.99, of which you will see $15.99, right? You will you will never get full price for your course. So if I have a course listed at $99.99 and I don't market it, or I don't put it in their marketing program, even if someone buys it, unless I have directly linked them to my course, then there's some affiliate fee or other thing that's attached to it, and some overhead fee that Udemy charges anyway, and you would get about $20 of that, right? So you're never going to win the game at Udemy playing that, I don't think. Maybe you might, but if that's your model, I would suggest just doing your own thing on your own platform at this point. Don't even bother with Udemy, because you're never going to get what you want, and you're still going to be under their rules, right? And I'm not saying their rules are bad. Their rules are established for Udemy's reasons and all the things. But I really like about Udemy is that I never had to market. I put my courses in their marketing program. Now, what does that mean for me? Well, I charge $59.99 for a course, but every week they sell it for $9.99. And of that $9.99, I see $1, right? But that's $1 that I didn't have, and a student that I didn't have. And if all I really care about is helping students and helping people skill up, and there they are, and they, I made $1 from it, great, So I don't mind the marketing program. So that's the normal game. But now we go into Udemy for Business. Now it's a subscription model. So suddenly when you do that, there's some newer rules. For number one, your course has to be unique at Udemy. You can't farm it out to other platforms. So like, I think, like the other big ones like Pluralsight and LinkedIn Learning, they're going to be the same way. Like you wouldn't be able to put a course on LinkedIn Learning and then also sell it on Udemy and vice versa, right? Because that just doesn't make any sense. That's their competitors, and they want to be able to offer a product, rightfully so, that is unique to them. So now I'm exclusive, which can limit your opportunities, especially if you're independent. But the revenue model is based on now how many minutes of your stuff is watched, and you're put in front of business audience. So now your course is, it's not so, you can hone in on things that are like, you've got Signal R and you've got that corner nailed, right? So if someone on Udemy is like, hey, I need a Signal R, I would bet they're saying, hey, go watch Kevin Griffin's course, right? Hopefully they're saying, if someone says Git, they say, hey, go watch Gorman's course, right? Or whatever, because that is the one that helps someone else that they know. But now they have the subscription model, and then suddenly you're getting a share of the revenue based on how many minutes are watched of your course. So the more useful your course is and the more it's viewed, the better your month might be. But like you said, it's a pretty steady, there's not the peaks and valleys like you would see on your own. It's more like a heartbeat.
Yeah. I like to say, just expanding on a lot of the points you just made. First big thing is really try to optimize the first like 2 or 3 videos specifically for the reviews, because Udemy doesn't wait until you get to the end of a course to ask you to review it. They're going to ask you after the second or third video. So if you're optimizing your your curriculum. Make your like first, second, third video really good, maybe fourth or fifth. Because what's going to happen is after that second video, it's going to pop up and it'll say, "Hey, how are you enjoying this course?" Even though they know, like, there's no way there's a good answer to that because they've only done 2% of your entire course. But they're going to ask you for a star rating, and you really want those 5 stars. And even better, if someone puts in a written review of what they think of it. But that's a great way to get some of those initial reviews that come in because Udemy's going to ask for it. Now, they can always go back and change their review later. So don't make the rest of your course crap. But really aim to optimize those first couple of videos because that's when the initial reviews are going to come in. I would also say I definitely agree with buying into Udemy's marketing program. I was getting messages from friends of mine that were seeing my course in their Facebook ads, which was mind blowing to me because I had gotten bestseller, I had gotten hot, whatever the things were, but it was enough for Udemy to put me into their ad program, which just helped me along the way. So I highly recommend doing that. I don't, and like you said, if you're going the route where you want the full $50 to $100 of your course, you just might as well self-publish. Hopefully you have the audience to come buy your course. Like, we're not all Wes Boss, right? We can't just put something out there and make $1 million. I wish I could. That'd be great.
Wouldn't
it? Yeah, it'd be amazing. Yeah, I think that's great. I actually didn't mean for us to go on a diatribe of Udemy, but I really suggest to people getting started, if you don't have the audience, like, Udemy is a great place to go to just put some content out there. And there's a lot of really good ways to just differentiate yourself across all the other authors on Udemy. Specifically, if you are a native English speaker and you're putting yourself out there like the talking heads, I feel like that makes a huge difference just across the board because you're you're trusted and it's easy to understand you. There's a lot of material on Udemy that are voice behind slides or voice behind code and heavily accented and very difficult to understand, which I think is fine if you're doing a course in another language. But if you're trying to do it in English, which for us is primarily what developers speak or need to speak, it's not going to be as well received as someone, say, like you or me, native English speakers, not terribly accented, which I guess I've been told by folks in the UK, you really have a Southern accent. I'm like, I don't have an accent. What are you talking about?
I live in Iowa where we write the phonics rules, so I know that I'm right the way I talk, right? Just
yes, you are. Moving on. So I think one thing, if you don't take anything from this conversation with Brian, is that Brian has a lot of, I want to say, irons in the fire, but really he has a lot of threads going on to keep it on topic. Brian, was there just a point in your life where you said, I really need to have all these different threads of income coming in? Some sort of epiphany that you might have had?
Sure. So the first time it actually kind of hit me was I was commuting back and forth between Ames and Des Moines. I was working at Wells Fargo, which was a fantastic job, probably one of the best jobs I had. We had a really good team and everything was awesome. It was when .NET was just brand new, kind of baby steps. We were on .NET 2 at the point, some 1.1.2, somewhere in there. And I got the chance to kind of mentor a couple other people, even though they were better developers than me, just because I was staying up with it. I was going to conferences or, talks. And so I was able to kind of share what I was learning on .NET. And I really just enjoyed the training part or the teaching part much more than the pulling the story down and solving the problem and then going again in that story and just kind of doing that over and over again and just like helping other people. So I was like, really kind of want to do something extra. And I got a master's degree. And so then the University of Phoenix there was an office across the interstate from where I worked in Des Moines. There was a University of Phoenix satellite. And so I interviewed there to be a college instructor. And for reasons unbeknownst to me, I don't know what happened in that process, but somehow either I got hired and didn't take the job, or I never got hired, or I'm not really sure where that all landed. I never actually taught a course there, but then I was teaching for the University of Phoenix online and a couple other, like a DeVry thing and these other little ones. And I actually had two really good college jobs. One of them was Colorado Tech, and then the other one was Franklin University. And at the end of the day, I loved the teaching. I didn't necessarily dig the grading so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I had quit my developer job and I was now teaching for 5 different universities. And I was moving and getting married all at the same. This was just a crazy time of life. Um, and I had all this going on and I was like, I just really want to just make videos and have that on the side. And then also like have the ability to like provide for my family. So I'm taking a developer job and making videos. And then I honed in, I don't know what the word is. I always mix those up. I narrowed it down to just Franklin University, which was the best job out of all of them in my mind. I love the people, and I was teaching actual computer science, like foundational computer science programming and data structures, which I really love. And so then I made videos because my students needed access to me. And that was where it was just like, okay, this started to roll. So I had this like epiphany of now I need to make more videos because like you said, once you
Yeah.
see like a little bit of money come in, you're like, wait a minute, this actually works. But until you get to that point where it's like enough to leave your developer job, it's not quite enough. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll just be a developer and I'll do this on the side. Um, but yeah, it was like, it was more just a fulfillment thing, a thing to help people grow. But then also like in the back of my mind, always like this, like, there's got to be more to life than this type of feeling, like more to life than
Yeah.
doing user stories every day. Um, and having a little more control over my own destiny and just being in the manager of where I want to go in my life and who I want to be as a person. And ultimately then just like this, I call it an unquenchable thirst to like leave a legacy for my family. So that has been the number one driver for me to be like unstopping, like unceasing. Like, I didn't mention this to you ahead of time, but like I was in a program almost 8 years ago now. I bought a program that was about building a SaaS product and making a business out of it. I'm still just trying to like find where am I going to go? Like got all
Yeah.
these irons in the fire. But they told a story that was actually from a Jim Collins book, and it was about the 20-mile march. And the 20-mile march is just really quick overhead of the story is 2 teams going to the South Pole. One team says every day, regardless of the weather, we're going 20 miles. The other team says, if the weather's good, we'll go as far as we can. If the weather's bad, we'll hunker down and wait it out. So at the end of the day, the team, of course, going 20 miles a day makes it to the South Pole. The real kicker is the team that didn't do that. Now they all died. They're dead. Like they didn't even survive the journey. So the idea is the 20-mile march. And I tell people when I'm training them and they're going to take a certification course or whatever it might
Yeah.
be, have an unbreakable commitment to yourself that every night, 3 nights, 5 nights a week, I'm going to do 1 hour of something, whether it's build a video, write for a book, write a blog, record a podcast, whatever it might be. And you do that 20-mile march every week and that momentum will be unstoppable. So that's kind of been how I've been ever since I heard about that story. It's kind of been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, so I've written a couple books. I've made more videos. I've been training. I had to get a whole bunch of certifications to train. So I had to do that. So like there have been a lot of irons in the fire for some time,
Yeah.
but it just keeps building on itself. So it's cool.
Do you have any tips for staying accountable to yourself? Like it's nice to say, all right, I'm going to
Mhm.
spend an hour every other day working on something.
Sure.
I've even heard people say, all right, spend half an hour every day, every morning, just work on something that's for yourself.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's one of those things that I feel like it's easier said than done, where I
Right.
might be good, any habit, I'm good for 3 days and then something happens and I fall off the horse
Yep.
and it's hard to get back on. How do you keep yourself accountable to make sure that you're following that process?
So 2 things, and it's really interesting because I just was listening to a podcast from a guy. His name is David Bayer, and I'm going to his event in Texas at, you were just there at the Kalahari.
Yeah.
or you were there for that conference. I'm going down to his event, the Powerful Living Experience, at the end of February at that same Kalahari, I think. And anyway, I digress a little bit, but his whole thing was, talking about the 12-step recovery program and being an alcoholic, a drug addict, and ultimately then failing, like starting over. And he talked about like the fact that people who have been, drug free for longer, like 20 years, they have one slip and then they go on these long benders, because once they slip, they're done. Right.
Yeah.
And the reason that happens to you is because you're unable to forgive yourself for the thing that you did. So then you've just given up. So how do you keep yourself accountable? This is going to sound really weird, but you have to forgive yourself. Okay. So like
Yeah.
it makes total sense when you're listening to it. You're going to go and you're going to say, okay, I'm committing 5 hours a week that I'm going to study for the AZ-204, or 5 hours a week that I'm going to build a video course. Your accountability is, number one, did you do it? But number two, like, what's the deadline? Like, you can't just have an open-ended thing, because if you say I'm going to get the AZ-204, but you don't say I'm going to schedule the exam for March 31st.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to study tonight? Well, you have the intention to, but it's Groundhog Day. But I've seen the Bill Murray Groundhog Day movie 30 times, but it's Groundhog Day. So I better watch that again tonight,
Yep.
and I earned it. I had a really hard day at work, and it's Friday. So I really don't want to actually have to work tonight, So the universe is going to like provide all these excuses for you to quit. So you have to be able to, like, you make a commitment to yourself. And when you screw up, which you will, you have to forgive yourself, and you have to have a deadline for when it has to be done. So like when you write a book, you have to do a chapter a week. If you don't do a chapter a week, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
If you are going to study for an exam, go buy the exam like for $165, schedule it for March 31st. And guess what's going to happen by March 31st? Two things. Either you're going to be ready, or you'll at least have studied, and you won't be ready and you can move it. But you will not just sit around every night going, I'll do that next week, when you know that you only have 5 weeks to learn, 60 hours of material. It's just not going to happen. So, so that's, and then the biggest part of that, which I'm just learning to do better myself, is to be okay when you do screw up. But what he said was really interesting to me, because it really clicked with me. It's like, you have to be 100% okay that you screwed up, which means that, like, before you even screw up, you have to be 100% okay with yourself that you're going to screw up. So I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to run a marathon, whatever it might be. I don't feel like running today. Okay. The 20-mile march says I should run today. So if I'm going to stick to that principle, I better do it, even though I don't feel like it. And I get on the treadmill, all of a sudden I'm 10 minutes in. I'm like, yeah, well, this isn't so bad, and I'll be done soon. Okay, great. But that doesn't work every time.
Yeah.
So next time is like, well, the kids have a basketball game. I better go to the basketball game. Okay. I'm 100% okay missing my run to go to my kid's basketball game, because that's important too. So then it's a priority thing, right? But I'm never going to just not do it because I don't have a reason to not do it. If that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of folks on, mostly it's Facebook and Instagram, doing this thing as like 75 hard.
Oh my goodness.
Where it's a very structured list of things you have to do every day. And like one thing, it might be you have to do 2 workouts. At least one workout has to be outside.
Right.
You have to read so many minutes of a book. You have to drink so much water. You have to stick to a diet. It's not telling you which diet, just any diet. And I do see a lot of success from the people who set those guidelines and deadlines for themselves. I'm the same way with my courses. Now it's been a while since I've done a course, but I said, all right, I'm launching this course on this day. And I think one of the other things I did was I have a small group of very trusted friends who I said, I'm launching a course this day. And every week I would have a check-in with them and say, all right, here's the progress I've made. In some weeks I didn't make progress. And they would come back, okay, well, what's your plan for this week to get back on track? And the deadline can't change. So what do you do to make up the difference?
Oh man, you just made me feel really guilty, because I'm I didn't even mention it, but I am in a business mentorship group, and I have been for 3 years or 4. It's actually maybe even longer than that, like 8 years. I don't know. But my business coach is exactly that. We have a group of about 8 or 9 of us now, and we have a Facebook thread that never stops, and we share our
Mm-hmm.
wins there. But we also have the ability to say, "Hey, I haven't seen anything from you this month. What's going on?" So that actually made me record a video on, I actually got a secret project going on. And they know that I'm trying to build this thing, and it's not a trivial undertaking. And so they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, how's that going for you?" So yes, what you said, absolutely. You've got to have somebody else external who cares enough about you to at least challenge you on it. They don't have to be like your spouse or something, but somebody who will, like, you share that stuff with. So great point.
We just started a thing in the Multithreaded Income Discord called just Weekly Wins. And anyone who's in the Discord is invited to come hang out with us for, it's 15, 20 minutes and just celebrate, hey, the thing you got done this week. And I really would love to see that evolve into more accountability and say, all right, well, I was good this week. Next week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then being able to circle back the next week and say, all right, did you do it? And they're never, the accountability is not designed to make you feel bad. The accountability is designed to keep you accountable.
Right.
So, because I feel like if you don't have that accountability to someone, anyone, and it's just going to be very easy to give up or have squirrel moments to other things.
Right.
I think it also requires you to focus. Brian, I'm guessing you're probably like me. You have 1,000 dumb ideas in your head, and you might be working on one and then have a squirrel moment where you go off to try to work on something else, and you never quite complete any of them because they're all in multiple stages of started.
Right.
And when you have that accountability, you can't do that because no friend of yours or accountability partner of yours is going to say, Brian, you're capable of getting 1,000 things done. No, they're going to say
Right.
you're capable of getting one thing done. What's that one thing you're going to get
And
done?
you committed to me that you wanted to do this thing. So you can't say, "Well, I'm working on this other thing." Oh.
Yep.
But to add to that, what's really interesting, and I'm sure you've seen this as an MVP and as someone who has courses out there, it's not just squirrel moments, it's other people who want
Yeah.
your time. So now you've got this new learning platform that really wants you to build a course for them. And it's a lucrative thing. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
should I change direction, or do I actually say no to real money? That's even harder than saying no to my dumb idea in my head, because this is real money and they're going to pay
Yeah.
me to build them a course. But like you said, they may shut that course down next week. And then what did I really gain from it? Or it's one of those like, well, we'll give you a revenue share after it's built. It's like, well, I'm going to give you content and weight. No. Some of them are easier
Yeah.
to say no to than others, but yeah, it's a real thing. Like all these different, you got to be true to what you think. And you have to make a commitment to that thing. Like
Yeah.
you don't say, I'm going to lose weight and go like a week of losing weight and then say, oh, I need a pizza. So I'm not, instead of losing weight this week, I'm actually gonna, I'm going to learn Russian. So then you switch to learning Russian and you eat your pizza. Now you've not learned Russian and you've also gotten fatter. So
Man, stop talking about me like that. Brian, what's next?
Currently I'm training for the MSSA program, and that's actually the thing that gives me the most like joy in life, is like helping veterans like transition out of the military into a job in cloud application development. So I hope to continue doing that. I also have some consulting things I do on the side, so that'll be there. I'm reworking the videos like we talked about. I guess I'm verbally committing to that now. So there's my accountability. You guys can all reach out to me and be like, hey, what's going on with those videos? I thought you were redoing them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually have, like I said earlier, I have this unquenchable like feeling that there's something more to life that I need to provide better value to the world with. But I can do it with a product. So I'm working on building a product, a SaaS product. And I have a couple other people that are helping me with that. I need to be more of what I need to practice more of what I just preached to you guys all about, being more diligent about staying on schedule with it, because it is a daunting undertaking. It's much more than just a 3-hour course that you could get done in a month. It's a 2 to 5 year journey, right? To get that thing built. And it's hard when you're in the early stages to see when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what my multi-threaded super secret thing right now is, just to like get that product built and then figure out how to market it. Cause I do believe in the idea. I do believe it's needed. I do believe it'll provide value to the world. And I do believe that maybe finally that itch that I have of this, being, I don't know. I've been a developer for a long time, over 20 years. I've been a trader now for a full-time trader, really technically for 5 years. I've been trading almost as long as I've been developing. It's time for me. Like I have this like feeling it's time for me to move into like the ownership role. I would like let other people do the work and just be more of a like provider of the facilitator for that work to happen. So I'm hoping with that product that, and maybe a couple other Udemy courses or something, that would be like the catalyst to like start rounding the corner towards retirement. For lack of a better way of saying it, like I am pushing 50 this year. And so I'm feeling like that has also lit a fire under me a little bit, because I can't keep going at this pace, especially we have 4 young kids and they're starting to do sports, and it's just not going to be as feasible going forward or as desirable to like spend all night long trying to write code or, write a book or something. So that's what's next for me. Hopefully you'll see that journey in, posts on LinkedIn or whatever through the years and things that keep happening, but you never know. I might get a squirrel idea and change direction.
No, don't do that. No.
Okay.
Not allowing you to do that. I need to.
Man.
So you need to tell me when the super secret thing is getting ready to launch, because I'm super interested in it. And we'll have you back on the podcast and we'll talk about, more details of launching a SaaS. I think a lot of people have that goal as well, of building some sort of product. So I think it's worthwhile to have the conversation of going through the growing pains of launching something.
See, now I have multiple accountability to that, because you're going to hold me accountable for it too.
Yep. Because someone's going to ask me, hey, what's the update on Brian? I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out.
I hope that'll happen, but you at least.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I appreciate having you on the podcast. You've given us a laundry list of things you have. Is there anything else to promote that we haven't covered?
Not really. I mean, honestly, I had at one point a training program that I was really heavily invested in around Microsoft certifications. So I would say this, the only other thing is that I do have the capability, and I don't know what journey comes next for me after May when the MSSA ends. So the door is still wide open right now. If you have the only other thing is I do have the capability to help people get Microsoft certifications for specifically around partnerships. So like if you have an organization and they need AZ 104, AZ 204 to get like 5 people certified, AZ 305, AZ 400, those 4 certs are pretty big for a couple of the different app dev specialties. So if you're looking for that, or, I would love to have a conversation and see if there is a fit for me to help you. Cause I have a unique program around that. That's not hey, let's all come to class for 5 days and figure this out.
Yeah.
It's a lot more spread out and so that's there. But other than that, that's really it for me. I guess I have music on Spotify too. If you like Christian music, I got some stuff on Spotify. Yeah. But
we'll make sure we drop a link to all that stuff.
0.009 cents per listen or something.
Hey, every little bit counts, right? So that's not car payment money. That's maybe a Big Mac.
No, and in fact, it's so far in all, because I recorded it down in Nashville. So like, as much as I paid for the recording and all that stuff, I might never recover that money. And that's okay, because that was his experience. So that's the other thing, like, just do things for the experience. Don't worry about the money. It'll take care of itself if you can. I know I'm very blessed and have lived a charmed life in some of that other people might not have that opportunity, but if that makes sense. Anyway.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian, and we'll make sure we put links to everything in our show notes, and we'll have you back sometime in the future to talk about what else is going on. Awesome. But with that, Brian, we appreciate having you, and everyone listening, thank you for listening to the Multithreaded Income Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great one.
You've been listening to the Multithreaded Income Podcast. I I really hope that this podcast has been useful for you. If it has, please take a moment to leave a review wherever you get your podcast from. And don't forget, the conversation doesn't stop here. Join us on our Discord at mti.to/Discord. I've been your host, Kevin Griffin, and we'll see you next week. Cha-ching!